and die down.
And it didn't. The protests and the police crackdown continued. Iranian authorities tried to limit coverage of what was happening by expelling foreign journalists and detaining others, and by limiting internet access. But the protesters used services like Twitter and Facebook to organize and get their message out. And so did their supporters all over the world, including Canada. Here's the CBC's Laurie Graham.
Iranian Canadians took to the streets to protest the election results back home.
We just don't believe that the election result is correct.
The only thing many feel they can do to help their loved ones get the word out.
I know in Iran they filtered all the sites, everything is down.
Since the election, Iran's government appears to be limiting internet access, preventing news inside the country from getting out. But more than half of the population in Iran is under 25, a generation that understands technology and is not afraid to use it. And they're getting help from computer experts in this tiny office in Toronto who have created a special software.
So you can't tell secrets, but it's all in this number?
Yeah, it's basically all in that number.
An intricate number that helps circumvent censorship.
It's getting around the typical filters and keyword filters and firewalls that are put in by the government.
Now tens of thousands can still turn to Twitter, an online messaging service, to tell the tale of what's happening inside their country, reporting on police brutality, mobilizing protests, giving a second-by-second account of what they see on the streets of Iran. Thousands of others are using Facebook, a social networking site that now looks more like a news service.
This is a chain reaction in a way.
Nick Kosar is a political cartoonist from Iran, who these days is more like a messenger, giving people inside better access to information.
So many Persian blogging services are halted and are not working. People send me their posts, and then I post them on my blog. And people even in Iran can get whatever I have on my blog.
Social networking sites may have been designed for frivolous fun, but now observers say they're changing the political culture in Iran, giving people a voice that might not otherwise be heard. Laurie Graham, CBC News, Toronto.
But those voices of change would eventually be silenced by the massive and violent crackdown ordered by the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. About 20 people were killed, more than 1,000 people were arrested, and 2 weeks after the election, Mousavi supporters were mourning more than their dead.
There's still evidence coming of the kind of struggle it's been, chaotic and violent. But now, 2 weeks after the election that drew blood, the unprecedented challenge to Iranian authorities seems to be fading to black. A planned day of mourning for protesters who died was scrapped today. Iranian television showed funerals of militia members it claimed were shot during the unrest. Some regular online updates have fallen silent. These were the final words from one of them on Twitter. "We must go. Don't know when we can get internet. They've taken one of us. They will torture and get names. Now we must move fast. Thank you, people, for supporting Sea of Green. Please remember always our martyrs." The government's promised crackdown ended last week's huge protests. Hundreds have been arrested and many killed. In an email, a source who wished to remain anonymous said this: "We are deeply depressed and disappointed. A move for democracy was defeated." After a long silence, defeated candidate Mir Hossein Mousavi vowed in a statement today that he would fight on despite the pressure to stop. Yet he said his access to people is completely restricted, fueling rumors he's under house arrest. There are yet other rumors of a deep split, a power struggle among the leadership, even if quiet attempts to find a compromise to end the dispute.
The option will be either to crack down really heavily, which will lead to the lack of legitimacy for the leadership in the Islamic Republic, or if they give in completely to the reformists, it means the loss of faith.
Ahmadinejad was snubbed by nearly 2/3 of MPs who failed to show at a victory party he held last night. Still, he was combative today, taking aim at U.S. President Barack Obama for criticizing the government's harsh crackdown. How dare you speak so impolitely with a great nation? Don't make a mistake, he says. We don't want to see the big disgraces of Bush's era to be repeated. Many Iranians would say what's happened in their country is also a disgrace. The question is, will they ever recover? Nala Ayed, CBC News, Beirut.
Since then, an uneasy calm has returned to the streets of Iran. Hundreds of Mousavi supporters have gone on trial, and in August, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was sworn in for a second term as president of Iran. But those who want change say their struggle will continue. And that's News in Review. Don't forget to check out our website at newsandreview.cbclearning.ca. I'm Carla Robinson. Thanks for watching. It's considered too dangerous to be used in Canada, but we sell it to countries like India.
Anybody who talks about controlled use in the third world is either a liar or a fool.
On News and Review today, asbestos, Canada's ugly secret. Hello, I'm Carla Robinson. Once upon a time, asbestos was known as the magic mineral. Because of its resistance to heat, chemicals, and electricity, it was widely used for all sorts of things. It was used to insulate buildings and pipes, woven into clothing, and even mixed with children's Play-Doh. In Quebec, it was also a major industry. Thousands of workers made a living in the huge open-pit mines, and a town was even named after it. But about 30 years ago, its needle-like fibers were shown to cause cancer and other serious illnesses, and production rapidly declined. Today, very little asbestos is used in Canada, and its uses are tightly controlled. But the country is being harshly criticized for exporting most of its production to developing countries where safety precautions are lax or non-existent, as the CBC's Melissa Fung found out when she visited India and came face to face with Canada's ugly secret.
This is one part of India you won't find in the tourist guides. It's called the Golden Corridor, an industrial strip that cuts through the northwestern state of Gujarat. A toxic trail of more than 31,000 factories and a seemingly endless supply of cheap labor. You'll find some of Canada's best customers here for a product that no one wants back home: asbestos. In fact, last year, India imported more than 40 million tons of the stuff, making it our best customer. It's used everywhere here, in manufacturing, in construction materials. It's even spun into yarn to make heat-resistant fabric. Asbestos sales are breathing new life into a dying industry in Canada, but they're leaving a long trail of sick and dying workers here in India.
So this is Canada's ugly secret. We stopped using asbestos in our own country because we know it kills, but we're happy to sell it to developing and third world countries where we know health and safety regulations are much less stringent. More than 40 countries around the world have banned asbestos, but not Canada. In fact, we're the last country in the developed world to still sell it. It's what some are calling foreign aid in reverse.
In the teeming slums of Ahmedabad, it's known simply as the breathing disease. Most people here know someone who has it.
It's a lower class area, and I saw that even the temples had asbestos roofs.
Gopal Krishna is an activist who has been pushing for a ban on asbestos in India. He's taken us into the slums to meet some of the people who have been working with Canadian asbestos. Workers now sick and dying. People like Jaigan Budar. He used asbestos to line the boilers at the city's electricity plant. No one ever told him it was dangerous. Narayan Prasad and his wife, both dying from asbestosis. She got it from washing the dust off his clothes. Chinapanan Chinakanu. He can't afford to quit his job. He needs the money to buy medication. And Mangbai Patel. Doctors tell him he only has months to live. Not one of the workers we met with knew they were handling a product that could kill them.
This trade is not stopped. There is no way asbestos diseases can be stopped. And I tell you, our estimates are that in days to come, once the documentation happens, India will break the Guinness Book of World Records for asbestos diseases. Because there is hardly a place in India which is not asbestos laden. There is not a single private building, not a single public building which is not asbestos laden.
In fact, they are preparing for the epidemic they know is coming by opening clinics like this one. It's being built just to treat respiratory diseases.
The X-ray plant.
The X-ray.
Dr. T.K. Joshi is one of the foremost experts on asbestos-related disease in India and the world. He says Canada should be helping treat patients, not create them.
My message to Canadian government is to become a leading light in opposing the use of all sorts of asbestos. Because when some generations down, the Canadians will read about their own history, they are going to ask themselves, how come such a government, such an enlightened government could be so apathetic and so insensitive?
The town of Thetford Mines used to be the center of asbestos mining in Quebec's eastern townships. Built by a once booming industry, it now lives largely in the shadow of its past. On the city's outskirts, the Black Mine, the only fully operational asbestos mine left in the country. It's owned by Lab Chrysotile and now employs fewer than 500 people, a far cry from the days when 17 mines employed thousands, and Canada was the biggest exporter in the world. Back then, it was still considered a miracle mineral, an export we could be proud of. But by the 70s, what some had suspected all along was now common knowledge. The miracle mineral was actually one of the greatest industrial hazards ever known. The markets in the Western world dried up quickly as thousands of Canadians died of asbestosis and other related diseases. So the industry went looking for new customers in developing and third world countries.
Every other developed country has given up on the habit. Why are we the last? Why are we at the back of the class?
The industry owes its survival in part to the unflinching support it's received from the federal government. Over the years, both Liberal and Conservative governments have given it more than $20 million to teach the public that chrysotile, or white asbestos, is safe when it's used properly. So it's more than a little ironic that the federal government is also spending millions to remove chrysotile asbestos from the Parliament buildings. Not safe for politicians, but safe for the third world.
Anybody who talks about controlled use in the third world is either a liar or a fool.
It's the kind of hypocrisy that angers Barry Castleman. He's written extensively on the dangers of asbestos and has been lobbying for a ban on exporting it.
Well, the Canadians have provided one vital thing for the global asbestos industry, and that is a propaganda machine and a respectability at the international level. It's a quasi-criminal industry. They know they're killing people. They know it's not safe. But they also know that there's money to be made as long as they can avoid the costs of prevention and compensation.
The industry and the Canadian government's position on selling asbestos to countries like India rests on one premise: that even though asbestos can cause cancer and other diseases, it is safe so long as proper safety precautions are taken. That's what brought us to India, to see if that's true. The power plant and the Ahmedabad cement factory are both big consumers of Canadian asbestos.
And nobody called me back. I was in...
Give us your number also.
Neither would allow us in. The signs outside the Eagle India textile factory did not look good. Piles of loose asbestos, waiting for a breeze to carry it through the neighboring slums. But the owner invited us in to have a look. He wouldn't agree to do an interview. He's still waiting for his operating permit from the government. Proud to be a good customer, he pointed out the bags of Canadian asbestos piled high inside. And printed on those bags a warning in English and French to avoid creating dust and to wear proper respirators when handling the product. But the workers wore no protective clothing at all. Some had only a bandana tied over their noses. It was in their hair, their clothes, and most certainly their lungs. In conditions like this, under Canadian safety regulations, nothing less than a full respirator with a separate air supply would protect these workers from the poisons in the air. Grim? Yes. Unusual? No, says Gopal Krishna.
The chrysotile asbestos, if it is safe, why is it not used in Canada? Why is it that the House of Commons gets decontaminated of chrysotile asbestos? Use it safely in Canada and then preach to the world that it can be safely used. This is height of hypocrisy, that you don't use it yourself and tell others to use it safely.
The Ministry of Natural Resources is responsible for the industry. We tried a number of times to get an interview with the minister, Lisa Ray, but she said no. Then we tried Public Works Minister Christian Paradis, who's riding the remaining mines fall in. His press secretary stopped returning our calls. We thought we had an interview with the president of the last operating mine, Simon Duparet, but when we got to the mine's offices in Thetford, Quebec, he had changed his mind.
So he's saying no. He doesn't want to be part of my story.
No.
But even if Canada stopped exporting asbestos today, it will likely be too late for these workers in the Eagle India textile factory. The chrysotile fibers have probably already penetrated their lungs. Slowly, they will form a fibrous mass, cutting off oxygen and affecting their ability to breathe. Asbestosis, say those who suffer from it, is a long and painful death sentence. Melissa Fung, CBC News, Ahmedabad, India.
And that's News in Review. Don't forget to check out our website at newsandreview.cbclearning.ca. I'm Carla Robinson. Thanks for watching.